So welcome everybody, my name is Paul and I'm a realtor in the western part of Virginia. And one of my favorite things is the homesteading life, and I've lived out in the countryside for quite a long time in various times in my life. I've actually had a very cosmopolitan type of life. I've been to many big cities and all kinds of travel and so on, but I live in the countryside for a very deliberate reason, actually many reasons, and I shared them on my video channel here. So today I'm going to talk a little bit more about saving money on a homestead, because I notice in the real estate business there's a lot of younger people that are moving out in the country. They want to have that life. Maybe they were brought up in a city or something, and they've always had this dream of like, oh man, we want to raise our children in this beautiful area. Where I live every day is a beautiful ride around with beautiful scenery and nice roads and everything. So that's the kind of life that a lot of people want. And then I'm 69 years old, and many people my age have been there, done that, been in New York, Chicago, wherever, and tired of that old grind, and they sell a big house up in New Jersey or something, and then they want to go out in the country. And there's many places in the country that you can go to have a really beautiful rural life. There's many states that I talk about that in some of my other videos. I happen to choose Virginia. It's a moderate climate. It has all the seasons, but it's very beautiful. There's lots of water here. It has a long history of homesteading and self-reliance and farm agricultural life, and also hunting. So it has that tradition as part of the history of this country, and it's truly a lovely place to live. And I know why. You can see why that people wanted to live here, the early settlers, because it just had all that nice balance. So I'm going to talk a little bit about various aspects of what you get into in a homesteading life, because a lot of people, when they buy a house, they look at, oh my God, they had a 2-acre spot, and they thought it was a big thing in White Plains, New York or something, and then they get this place that's 12 acres, it's got a barn on it, and woods, and forests, and bears, and everything, and they're just not ready for that stuff. So I'm trying to help people prepare themselves for that kind of transition, because one of the things that you have to be, if you're going to run a farm or a homestead or anything like that, you're going to have to get some skills, because there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen. I can tell you stories about so many different things that I've gotten into, like, pouring concrete in a basement that was just gravel, or tree trimming, or roof problems, or gutting a bathroom, or finding old dead squirrels in the walls of old houses, and houses that sag, and plumbing issues, and septic issues, and wild pests, and rabid animals, and bears, and all kinds of stuff that you have to deal with. So one of the things that I've sort of evolved, when I was young, I loved electronics, and I liked to tinker with things, so I always like to fix things and make things. And if you're going to live in a homestead life, be prepared to make things and fix things, because that's how this country was settled. That's how they still live in many parts of the world. That they're not going to just pick up the guy, the Yellow Pages, and call, oh, I need someone to fix my toilet or something. Well, I can tell you about a real estate deal I was involved in last year, where the buyer was really anxious, and he had required that a official plumber come and take a look at this little leaking thing in the bathroom and everything in the tank. And the day before the closing, it was like, before the review, it was like, that get done. So I went over and checked it, like, oh, it's still leaking. And boy, that buyer's going to be really pissed off if he finds this leak. So without really telling the owner, I just kind of privately, I went off to the hardware store for 12 or 13 bucks. I got the right little thing, and I went up there and I emptied the water. Let the water out of the back tank, and I put in a new thing. The whole thing was all corroded with lime, and it wasn't functioning properly. It was just leaking. It's like a $15 part, half hour of my time. Saved the deal. But when it comes down to your own responsibility, your own house, then you're going to get into some stuff, because there's deck things, roof things, trees. That's a whole other video I could make. But I'm going to talk a little bit about making yourself talented in many ways, because I can't even tell people how much money I've saved over the years on everything. I mean, when I was young, we could fix our cars. I would do my own tune-ups and oil changes and all that stuff. I even got into some brake work and whatever, and messed around with cars, because I couldn't afford a mechanic. So then a little bit later, I got into electronics, and okay, well, how do the radios work? How do the computers work? I want to know how they work. Okay, I made a little money. I could buy some used computer parts and throw something together and sell for a little profit. And not only that, but learn how my machines work so I understand. In the old days, when you had a tractor, you got to know how to fix the tractor. You got a horse, you got to know how to take care of the horse. Because who are you going to call? Hey, my tractor broke down. Can you come over here? And hell, I'm in a hurry right now, but I know I'm a long way from town. See, so that's the kind of stuff you get into. I make light of it, but the fact is that it's kind of a serious thing. Now, I'm going to tell you about how to save money. First of all, nowadays it's amazing. You can find any kind of technique and review of any product and learn how to do stuff. If you can change your water heater and change your well pump, and you know how a septic is built. You can find any that kind of information by experts all over YouTube. That's how I learn. I just constantly learn. Because the more I know, when I need something that, I don't have to call somebody. I never have to call somebody to fix my mower, for example, or my motor scooter or whatever. I just know how they do it, and I just have some tools and whatever. I have an air compressor. I've made some reviews about some of the tools. Now, one of the things that is a big advantage of knowing how to do stuff is that you can make things for yourself. That's what a lot of people did in the old days. They had some tools or whatever. There was no shopping centers. You go down to Lowe's and everybody has the same kind of planters and the same kind of this and the same kind of lamps, and everything's just the same. They made stuff. They fixed stuff. You gotta be resourceful with the materials that you have. You got some wood. You got some trees. Okay, cut one down. Well, now you got to cut it up and make some boards. Okay, what are you gonna do with the boards? I can make a whole bunch of stuff with the boards. I can make a whole house with the boards. That's what they did. So, yes, I make light of it, but it's a very, very serious thing because you can save so much money by getting some tools. I shop at Goodwill. I shop at thrift stores. I shop at flea markets all my life. When my kids were young, I go, well, I can't afford all the things I'd like to get for them, but I say I live in a nice neighborhood and they have these fancy yard sales. I go there and get a whole bicycle and everything cheap. And then when they grow up, I just get something else for them, and I learned, hey, I can save things for myself and make money. I buy most of my furniture used. Most of my appliances are used. Most of my tools I bought used. I buy some new tools now and then, but man, there are some really good tools out there that have been sitting around for 30 years in someone's garage and they still work like a charm. And you can take that $5, $7, $10 tool and start making hundreds of dollars with it. So, like just recently, I got myself a miter saw, sliding miter saw. Okay, that guy, he had the ad for like $30 or $40 or something like that. And I talked to him, oh, I'll take it for $25. Okay, I'll be right down. I get the thing. It hadn't been used. His dad died and had a workshop, and so, okay, I just got to get rid of this thing. It's starting taking space in my garage, and I got to sell the house he lived in, and off it goes to me. So immediately I start putting it to work. There's an old saying about guns and butter that you can spend your money on guns or butter. And guns really is meaning hardware, something you can do something with. You can call it tools, a saw, an axe, a gun, or whatever. In the old days, yeah, if you had a rifle, you got food, right? That's how it worked. And you got protection. So people had a rifle or a handgun. So that's how it works out there. And you get a tool, you call it guns. Something hard. You can use it over and over again. I have tools that I've had for many years, and honestly I've lost some, given a lot away and all that. But over the years, you just learn what to get, and you get some good ones for really cheap. Today I was at Restore, where Habitat Humanity has surplus stuff. I found this like 1/2-inch electric drill. It was made by a good quality company. It was all nice and solid and insulated, and I tested it out. It worked great, and I have a 3/8 inch, a couple of drills, but this one has the extra power for the 1/2-inch bit. And when you're working with wood, you got to have some of those Forstner bits, and you dig. So what I'm getting at is get yourself some tools, get yourself some knowledge. Find out what you need to do, learn. If you don't want to do it yourself, that's great. In some projects, honestly, don't do it yourself, okay? But you know how it works. Like, for example, I can change the water heater. I can put a water heater element in, and I know how to do all that. I know how to do safety thing. I turn off the fuses and everything and cut everything off, and I test it before I touch it. Oh, I know that stuff. So I can do a lot of very complicated things. I even built a stairway one time down the basement. I've built a whole bunch of shelves, and cabinets, and I tend to deal with sort of a rustic, semi-rustic look. You know, I have to show pictures in the comments here of a couple things I built for myself recently. I went and got like $20 of materials, literally, maybe 25, and I built two things that are matching. One's kind of like a butcher block kind of table thing with a nice old planks that came out of a library, and like they're 1.5 inches thick, and all like sand them down, make them really look beautiful, and boom. Okay, and I could probably sell this table for $400. And the other thing I made, I asked on Facebook, well, what do you think that might be worth? And they go, $150, $200. It's all like, I think between the two of them, I spent maybe $30 and a bunch of work. So, you know, you can, now I have these beautiful items and they'll last a long time. They match my decor. They're perfect for me. I made them myself. I can will them to my children. It's just fantastic. So, whatever talent you have, you may be good at painting or inside work, or learn at least how things are done, so that at least when you have to call somebody for something you don't want to do, like I don't want to do the septic well change, pump change, or anything like that, I'll call a specialist, but at least I know what's going on, what a septic tank is, how it works, what the problems could be, things like that. You know, and you can save you tons and tons of money. So as far as tools, you know, I go on carpentry woodworking shops. I've got into the carpentry woodworking thing now. I've just suddenly caught the bug. I realized I got a shed, I got an old cabin, I got some old wood, I got a barn, I got 4 acres. There's a sawmill guy right across the road, and right down the road, a friend of mine, neighbor, he has a whole big wood shop with a massive, you know, table. He's been making shelves all his life, and so I got people around me that are into that stuff, and I realized, damn, I got this beautiful space here, might as well start using it. And I have a bunch of tools, and you know, sometimes you know, especially when you're renting something, you don't really want to put a lot of money into it. This is after the situation where I'm in at the moment, but I got a really bargain here because I got a great landlord and a really nice place. But basically, I have a lot of utility space here, and that's another thing about being in the homestead. You're going to go in and out of the house. I mean, I go in and out, my feet. I'm in the shop, I'm in the sawdust, I'm out in the garden, I'm down by the barn. So you have to be prepared to kind of like always keep things in order. That's where the wood shop, right, man, you can get tools everywhere, sawdust and little pieces of wood everywhere, glue and everything, and then okay, you got to start fresh every morning. Okay, put everything away, get organized, so I can think straight and really do it safely. So get some skills, get some tools, some real basics, you know, a level, a measuring tape, you know, a pencil. There's an old saying, you know, a short pencil beats a long memory. So between, you know, I always said have a pencil and a ruler, a measuring tape nearby at all times. So to kind of summarize here, the point is to save a lot of money and be less reliant on other people. I watched a video recently, a guy, he was a younger guy in his 40s, and he had to retire from carpentry. He was really good. So he went online because he was having leg problems. But he had work done for him, and he was talking to this old carpenter one day. He said, why are you doing this hard work? Why don't you get some young guy to work for you? And the guy says, I can't find any guys. I can't find any way to work. If you know how to fix things and make things, you're gold, okay? If you're a man, the women love that. If you're a woman, the men love that. So it works both ways, okay? It's like, okay, two handy persons get married or they live together and they say, okay, the two of us can make a whole house here, you know, paint and do everything. So learn the skills, watch the videos, just get good and have the confidence. Just do it yourself. Make yourself a workspace, however small it is. It's good to have a really decent working space if you're going to work on tools, especially if you're going to work on electronic stuff. I used to do soldering and all that. And for that, you need good lighting and everything's got to be just in order. And you got to be precise and do that kind of work. But same thing, you know, when you're dealing with tools, just be safety, you know, safety. Wood chips and sawdust, you can breathe it in and it can affect your eyes and also hearing. So just a little final thing here. There's books again about it. I sometimes recommend different books about homesteading and different aspects of it. I am a realtor, a practicing realtor. I also have a private pilot license. and I used to do aerial photography. That was my background, and I got into real estate. But again, more people make money in real estate by owning the home. See, that's one thing. If you're the first-time buyer, say, look, I'm going to buy a home because it's going to leverage me into something for a longer-term future. And don't assume just because of the real estate market, okay, it's going to pop. If you buy a property that not only has some market value currently and whatever, but that can fluctuate. But if it has utility value, see where I live right now, there's a barn here, there's an old cabin here. It's not really habitable, but it makes a great workshop. And I have another potting shed, and I have some land. There's a stream down there. There's 4 acres here. My landlord, I'm adjoined by all kinds of fantastic forests and wildlife and birds and everything, and I don't hear any, I don't see any street lights or anything. And I got nice neighbors. I'm kind of on a dead-end road. The stream runs down the valley here. And next to me, there's a huge field where there's cows and big, huge, like a mile-long pasture. So I'm trying to encourage people, look, there's a way to live out in the countryside that you have to understand a little bit what's involved, because if you've really been a city person most of your life, when I was married, we had a little country home, and she was always a city person, and I was a country person, so we compromised. We had this little house in the country, and she had her practice in New York City. And we did a lot of changing. I'm telling you, we lived in a house, a post and beam house. It was like a couple hundred years old, but it had been like patched up, and it was a mess. And on the time that we made that thing into a beautiful, beautiful thing. We had skylights, and we opened it up. We exposed all the beams. We had a custom-made cabinet for our TV and things, and we had a wool cabinet I built and shelves, and oh, it was a beautiful place. And we made it that way with passion over a long period of time. But both of us had skills. We had skills and knowledge. She was great at sewing, and she had a really great artistic sense. She was an artist. And, 2 people combined or a small group of people can make wonders. The old people, the Amish, used to build their own homes together, and it's a family operation. Everybody learns some skills. And as far as young people, you think about getting some job, learn how to fix things and learn how to make things, because we live in a complex society, and there's a whole lot of people out there who do not know how to fix anything, or they don't know how to fix most of what they own. So, if you want work, and you want to make it pay for yourself, get those tools, get those knowledge, get the variety, not just narrow. I mean, it's good to have a specialty, but widen your knowledge so you know, well, how the systems in your house all work together, and if God forbid something happen, then, okay, you know where the circuit breaker is, and off it goes. So thanks again for listening. I hope people like and share. I make these videos that entertain, and hope people enjoy the country life. And please comment. I love to hear from people, and I watch a lot of other people's content. So again, hope to see you in some of my other videos.